What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology forecast for the weekend of October 22nd and the 23rd of 2022. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all very much. Hope everybody had a good week. Hope everybody's ready for the weekend. Definitely a lot of shifting taking place this weekend. It's been pretty intense times. I'm hoping this, I haven't used OBS in such a long time that I'm hoping this all works out. Looks like it's going great. So, gonna roll with it. Let's look at the astrology for this weekend. I'm gonna kind of walk through it. I don't have my iPad up, but I do have my software open. So, we'll run through it that way. A little different, but so it goes. All right. So, Saturday, it is the day that we do see the exact conjunction between the Sun and Venus at 29 degrees of Libra. This has been intense times for people. Like, Libra is relationships, others. I mean, of course, balance, weighing things out, finding that sweet spot. There's been a lot that has shown up. And I would say that with Venus on the other side of the Sun, like, there's a Venusian quality coming through the Sun at us, especially with a North Node in Taurus. I mean, there's so many Taurus or Venus Venusian aspects, like through the Libra side and the Taurus side. Like, this relationship aspect to what's outside of us and to ourselves is so important right now. And I think we're seeing a lot of contrast. So it's a very contrasted day. It's been a contrasted week. Like, we're really seeing where we don't have ourselves in alignment, where places that we're at in life are not in alignment. We're seeing where they are. You just have to decide. This is like being the judge in the best way for yourself. You know, what's going to be in the most alignment for yourself that is in alignment with your values, the quality of life, the sensuality of life that you're looking for. These are all very important things. It's like boom, boom, boom this weekend. It's kind of crazy. If I go forward just a little bit, like, you can see that exact conjunction basically is at 1:36 p.m. on the West Coast. And then if I go forward just another hour, like, Venus will pass the Sun. So they're really exactly conjunct at 2:36, 29, 27. It's just like they're still in square to Pluto. That's a 3-degree orb. It's like you can't run from this stuff. Like, everything's coming up to the surface to be seen right now, especially with Pluto direct and finishing up in Capricorn. Like, you can really see what is in alignment with destiny, what is in alignment with the long-term reason that you even came here on this planet. But there's still these questions. So we are in this limbo place where I feel like a lot of people are asking a lot of questions about themselves, about relationships, what they're here for, where they're going. And the moon is, of course, finishing up in Virgo, and it's trining over to Pluto. And it's not dark yet. It's 2 degrees away from being a dark moon and building up towards an eclipse. But it's not there yet. So I think Saturday is very important to just push forward, you know? Like, we can definitely beat ourselves up over what is being uncovered and what the truth is, but we just have to keep going. Like, come on, this is like the final leg of the mountain here in Capricorn. Like, I've said it before, but we got to keep going. So remember this weekend, like, keep trucking, keep going. Like, it's definitely intense, and we can definitely be seeing relationships spin. Like, they might not be going where we thought they were going to go. This is where I think we see a lot of breakups. This is where I think we see a lot of relationships getting started. This is where contracts are either getting null and void, you know, or they're getting made for the long term. Either way, it's okay. The South Node in Scorpio is really asking us to be okay with letting go. It's hard. We can get obsessive, but we have to learn to let go. And that's a big part of the eclipse that we're coming up on too. So I think this Saturday is a big black and white look at the reality of situations, and are they in alignment with yourself? First of all, you got to come back to that Taurus element. Venus is also the dispositor of the North Node, and it's still at home in Libra for this Saturday with the Sun. Use this to be conscious, especially with the Sun. Even though we can't see Venus, it's shining through our conscious light of the projection of our reality about relationships. Do they align with your independent values or not? Stop weighing things out. This is a beautiful day to see the truth and to be like, yeah, this is going to work or this isn't going to work. Mercury is done with the the quincunx, not a trine, the quincunx over to Uranus in Taurus, which is definitely a weird way of getting the message and sort of the shocking sort of revelation, if you will, of like, oh my gosh, this relationship doesn't fit with my values. Oh my gosh, this relationship fits with my values. Like, whatever the relationship is, right? Because it can be romantic, it can be a contract, it can be a work thing, it can be a lot of different aspects in life. They're either fitting into the independent, individuated value system or not. That's it. That's it. And I feel like people are really questioning themselves right now. Like, there's a lot of unsurety, and of course Mars is still square Neptune. Like, there's unsurety in the air. People are not even, like, there are people that are on the path right now that have been doing everything as best they can, trying their hardest, trying to go for what's going to be in their highest self's best interest, if you will, and they're even questioning themselves right now. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but, like, come on, you've gone this far. Like, don't turn back now. It's like, don't miss out. Like, this is where you really just have to push, and you have to get through these things, and you have to make calls for yourself. And Saturn is stationing, getting ready to just a few hours later after this conjunction, go direct in Aquarius, which deals with people. Like, people stuff is huge right now. And Mercury is trine that Saturn. Excuse me. So, Mercury trine Saturn, I mean, this is great for understanding people. This is great for trying to, like, have a really good objective view and, like, I can really peel back here. I've done my homework. I'm done with summer school. Saturn's about to go direct, and we're, like, launching into where our futures are actually going with the groups and with people and what society's going to start doing. You don't want to be with the wrong people right now. Like, you don't. That's kind of the interesting part of this whole thing is, like, people are so valuable, but people can also be the detriment in your life as we're getting up the top of this mountain. We cannot, like, be dragging dead weight with contracts and relationships. It's like, it's really, you got to go forward with what's in the best interest of all parties. And that's the thing, is we can think by pulling someone up the mountain that we're actually doing them a favor. We're not. They're not ready to be at the top of the mountain. Like, you pulling them up is, they're scared shitless, right? They don't want to be up there. Just because you want to go and you're ready to make the next step and, like, let go of things to get up there does not mean that that person you signed a contract with 3 years ago is ready, or 6 months ago even is ready to go to that next level too. You have to be, there's a coldness, but there's an objectivity to this weekend that is like, it's got you, like, it's in your favorable interest to listen to that and to start moving into a powerful destiny, a powerful future, and to make things happen, because this is a very, like, important day, right? And if I just go forward a little bit more, boom, Saturn, station direct, about 9 o'clock Pacific time on the West Coast. It's a big deal. Saturn knows, just like Pluto knows it's heading into Aquarius, Saturn knows it's going into Pisces, and it knows it's not coming back into Aquarius. It'll get close, but it's not going to. So we're almost done with Saturn in these Saturn-ruled signs. We've had a very strong Saturn. Like, it's only a +5 in this chart right here, but really, like, Saturn's been +8 for since the end of 2017, 2018. Kind of crazy. Which is, like, a lot of karmic lessons that we've all had to go through to get us into where reality is starting to dissolve. So it's like getting your future, getting your group into alignment and charging forward into the future, because Aquarius doesn't want to go back into the past. It's already done it. It's already experimented. So that's a big lesson that we're learning here, is, like, people and your individuality and your uniqueness has to go forward. And everything's about to start popping off direct here as we continue into these eclipses and into the second half. Really, right? Because we're finishing up Libra, like, the second half of the astrological year just started. So consider that too. Like, time to move forward. It's game time. Like, it was halftime. It's game time. Like, let's go out and finish strong. My coach moment. Venus is going to come into Scorpio first, of course. On Sunday morning, right around 1:30 a.m. And then the sun's just 5 minutes away from making that ingress too. So we see both those ingresses, boom, boom, within an hour, pretty much and a half of each other. Sunday morning. Which definitely brings an intensity. I mean, having Venus move from dignity, but being with the sun all through Libra, and then going straight into its detriment position, kind of hurts. Like, Venus is not stoked, -5. And the sun doesn't necessarily mind Scorpio. It's kind of neutral there, but it's intense, right? Like, we're about to start seeing these deeper underlying desires, and where we put too much weight on them, where our relationships, we put too much glue or the glue's starting to dissolve, and we're like, wow, I glued this together and I thought this would last forever, and oh my gosh, guess what? It popped up. I've had to fix some toys for my son with some super glue, and I know it never lasts, right? So there's something about, like, this weekend, like, you have to make those decisions and, like, get ready Saturday for the eclipse that's coming. The moon comes into Libra. It's going to oppose Jupiter right when it comes in at 0 degrees. But it's dark. It's getting ready for a solar eclipse. Like, dang, right? Like, with Venus. It's very intense. So this weekend is like a big test on relationships and being able to let go. The moon's also going to square Mars on Saturday, like, bring some of that, like, fire, and just, like, having to be on it. Like, you have to be on it or you're going to feel frustrated. And that's even a moon opposed Neptune. Like, we're in a very, like, you're either feeling on it or you're feeling completely lost in the sauce. And it's okay, but we have to reel it back in Sunday and, like, look at the black and white truth of things and start to react based on where we really do want to commit and what our passions really are. But they have to be based around what's real and what's growing and what's building. It's like, the easier you can let go of things. Like, a friend was telling me a story about someone who had these dreams about their cats passing away. And they were really worried about their cats passing away, and it, like, scared them to death because they love their cats. And they're like, is it prophetic? Maybe it is. Maybe it was just a dream. Like, these are things, but there was a stress and an anxiety over this dream that these cats might die. You do not want to be in that position right now. You do not want to be sitting there worrying about how devastated you would be if something left your life, because we're at this point where you just have to be non-attached to things. Even Saturn coming direct in Aquarius is like, can you disassociate and let go and be smart and move forward? I know it's hard. I know we form bonds. I know we do. And maybe it's the 1-3 in me that is so used, because I'm a 1-3 in human design. It's like, I'm so used to bonds made and bonds broken that I'm just like, yeah, made a bond, probably going to break, doesn't last forever. Like, we have to kind of have that mindset. If I could give you any advice, like, that's, like, the easiest way through this, because the obsession over something dying and the devastation of something dying, figuratively and real, like something dying in life, going away, it can't devastate us. We have to be looking forward. We have to keep marching forward, and we have to see the beauty in new growth, no matter what. Very important in these times, and as we're moving forward into this eclipse. I think that's, like, the big takeaway from this weekend, is, like, being okay with that, because the intensity's ramping up. Scorpio season. It gets dark in Scorpio season, right? That's when we start setting the clocks back. It gets darker earlier. It's so funny how things like that work, but it's just the way it is. The moon will oppose Chiron by the end of Sunday night, giving us another kind of look at our wounds. Chiron's in quincunx to that south node. We will feel so much more empowered when we're able to justify our lives based on what makes us feel like we're initiating forward with beauty and letting go of what's dying. And I know some people are watching this and they're doing good, and like these are these are trying times, you know. If you're doing good, you're doing the right thing. Like, stay on your game, you know. If you're feeling like things aren't working out and you're second guessing and questioning everything, it's because you have to pull the trigger on what your heart wants, and you have to pull the trigger on what's going to justify your life. And I think we can all kind of step up and help people, but we can't drag them up the mountain. Like, that's how I started this, right? So it's not about the drag and the pulling up. It's really, you just have to be in your soul's integrity and know who you are, and know what you're passionate about and what's growing and what's building and what your unique values are, and own them. They'll take you where you need to go. They'll build the relationships that are going to be the right bonds in life. And they're going to get you out of the contracts and the bonds that are dissolving. It's a very karmic time. Such is life. That's life. We live in a karmic reality, Saturn's realm. But I think that's like the main points to look at this weekend, is really an intense deep dive into a lot of the pleasurable things in life, because we're talking about Venus here and Scorpio, and they're still conjunct with the Sun and Venus. And the South Node's here. We get really hung up on the pleasurable aspects of life, the relationships, the people. We have to be smart. We have to look at our own self. We have to look at what we can build, what's keeping us uplifting within ourselves, what's keeping us feeling beautiful within ourselves, positive. It'll make all the difference in the world, because we can really feel like we're in a deep psychosis right now too, or feel very lost with Mars square Neptune and coming into this dark moon phase this weekend. I think the best way to get through this is to pay close attention to this depth of feeling that we're all feeling, and to really use it, and to not just shy away from it, because the moments now and the decisions that you make now are really a catalyst of some really positive things that can build moving forward, if you're willing to go that route. But there's also this, depth where we can get caught up in the wounds and the victim mentality, and we can really set up this next 6 months for almost like failure. And you're not a failure, and I don't even know if failure exists, but you will look back and be like, what the heck did I do that for? I made this so much harder on myself. I don't want anybody to do that, because we can really find a lot of benefit and a lot of abundance through this time. But it really is coming to that like justified place within ourselves, finding that and using that intensity to keep going, to keep pushing, to go into a future, to build positive connections, strong bonds. But they have to be built around the inner value of yourself, and making sure that that's getting a good reflection. And you have to be able to let go of things, because just not everything's going to make it. And at some point in our lives, like, we're about to see things go away that we thought were forever, and they're not going to be there anymore. Whatever that might be. The more prepared you are for that, and the more you can just say, oh, okay, it's gone. I'm fine with that. I have tools to create moving forward something better. Maybe not better, but as long as you feel secure within yourself, it doesn't matter what the external is. You'll always be whole, and you'll always be creating. So, powerful weekend to really get the ball moving and get really precise and dedicated and on it, and really commit to what the future is that you're building, who you're going to be building that with, and, bond these things together. The positive stuff that's building for what you want to create in life. Where do you see your story going? Because Venus and the Sun are quincunx Jupiter, retrograde at 0, the 0 point of astrology, right before this eclipse. This is a big moment to really believe in what you're doing in your life before before Jupiter comes back into Pisces, and like, oh wow, what dream did we just step back into? Is it a nightmare, Or is it a fantasy? And is it a fantasy that can become real? Or is it a delusional belief around something that's dying that we think is going to stay forever, but it's not? Questions to ask. Let's see what we got in the cards. Appreciate you all in the chat. I haven't used OBS in a long time. I've been using Livestream Studio, but I fired up this and they like redid the chat on the update, and it's kind of cool how it pops up. But I do appreciate you all very much. And yes, I'm feeling a little better, but I laid in bed all day today. It's Friday when I'm doing this, and I took the night off at the studio. I just came in to film this, and I'm going to go back to my bed. But I do feel better. I needed like a day to just crash out. I mean, really, it's not that bad of a cold. It's just like a really heady cold, really snotty, really congested, coffee, all that lovely stuff. But otherwise, I don't think I've had a fever. I didn't check, but I don't think I had one. I don't know. Justice reversed. Of course, it's the justice reversed. This is where we're seeing intensely how out of balance and out of alignment we are, and where we really need to find and make justified decisions in our life, especially around people, especially around contracts, bonds, relationships, all these things. It's important, you know, and it can feel like everything's kind of getting dumped on us at once so that we can see the truth behind it. And, you know, maybe it's little adjustments. Maybe it's big ones. Like, it's just going to be a little different for everybody depending on where you're at and maybe how in alignment you've been living. Got to find justice in our lives right now. And I think it starts with, like, justifying ourselves that we're on the right path and that we're ready to keep going on the path and that we're not going to stop ourselves or doubt ourselves, because we can get out of alignment just by sitting in doubt for a little bit, even though I do think that has meaning and purpose, because sometimes we have to go into that place to realize we don't want to be there and to push ourselves fully out. Four of Swords in reverse. I know it's like we can, I need to rest this weekend, but like at the same time, like there's also things that need to get done. And it's not like about just like stewing and like it being in this mental place like alone right now. I think it's really about being productive with what we've learned or what we've downloaded or what we've sat on, and like really let's go put this stuff to use this weekend. The weekends they've been so interesting. The last like 5 weekends have just been so like astrologically like not weekends. I think it's time to put the downloads to good use and to move forward. And the 5 of coins, great. The poverty card. It can feel too like, as we're making these transitions, that we are kind of going backwards or having less than what we had before. But that's all an illusion too. Because who knows, really moving forward into the second half of even this decade, like what is going to be more? These are going to be very subjective things. I really don't think, looking at the astrology, it's going to be like we were promised or told growing up. Like, I think it's going to be much, much different, like something we never could have predicted or thought about. Like, it's very Aquarius, and Pluto's coming in there. So don't trip about these physical things that you think are this everything or that you worked so hard to get to. If they're not making you happy, those are the things that are keeping you out of alignment. Those are the things that we're mentally handicapping ourselves with too, which is really inhibiting our magic and our progression forward. So we got to shift the mindset. Anytime we think that we're making a decision that's taking us backwards, we're playing tricks on ourselves, because we're saying that we need to stay in something we don't want to do that's not progressing us forward anyways, and it's not making us happy or liberating us in any way or letting us, you know, really be who we want to be or live the life that makes us feel whole. But then we're so caught up in these little things, these physical things. Five of Coins. We're not poverty. We're not poor. Bob Marley had a great quote, right? Like, he was asked if he was a rich man, and he said, he said, yeah, I'm very rich, but not by the way you're, talking about what rich is. He's rich with love, not physical possession. I know we all want physical things, and it brings comfort into our life, and it's North Node in Taurus, and, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's good to have security physically, but we're also in a place right now where if you're feeling emotionally bankrupt over something and you're staying just in because of some physical security, you're also not liberating yourself with Uranus and Taurus either. And that's where change needs to be made too. I love you all very much. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. I will see you all Monday. Much love. Peace.